Tonight on CTV News, a lifeline for the forest sector.
It is clear that we cannot count or fully rely on what has been our most valued trading relationship.
The Prime Minister in BC offering up beams of support for the lumber industry as the United States ratchets up tariffs on Canadian softwood. Also tonight.
I would call it a parasitic industry because they are really benefiting from the severe shortages.
Why are millions of taxpayer dollars flowing to private staffing agencies, companies that make steep profits to fill the gaps in the public healthcare system? And
Alberta's calling to say that your dream lives here.
Alberta may be calling, but a Made in BC campaign doesn't want you to answer. The Stay with BC movement that's hoping to gain momentum.
This is CTV News with Nafisa Kareem.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Mi Jung is off this week. We begin with a big bailout for the ailing softwood lumber industry. As a trade deal with the United States remains in limbo, the Prime Minister took to Kelowna today where he announced $1.25 billion worth of support for the forestry sector. CTV's Rob Buffum has the details.
After touring a mill in West Kelowna Tuesday, Prime Minister Carney announced a series of supports to sustain the softwood lumber industry being hammered by American duties.
I'm going to focus on how we can help transform our softwood lumber industry to compete in this tough new environment.
Carney pledged $700 million in loan guarantees to help struggling businesses facing U.S. import duties that effectively doubled last week to 27% and have tied up approximately $10 billion at the border.
These owners of these companies are very worried. They're worried about losing their people. They're worried about continuously keeping their business going.
The Prime Minister also promised $500 million in funding for new product development, including for materials used in prefabricated modular homes and for new market diversification.
For him to understand how important it is for us to do that, that is good. It's going to take us a while to get to diversifying our markets, but it's helpful they acknowledge that.
There's also a push for prioritizing and procurement of Canadian lumber to be used for Canadian homes and infrastructure.
We will be our own best customer by relying more on Canadian lumber, Canadian softwood for Canadian projects.
There is an opportunity for British Columbia as the second largest exporter of softwood lumber in the world, not only to help build infrastructure in British Columbia, but throughout this entire country.
The final measure laid out from the mill reflects the punishing realities of the duties. $50 million in funding for lumber workers to be retrained.
They're tired of retraining programs. They just want their jobs. They want those good paying family supporting jobs in our forest sector.
With further hikes to duties expected to bring them up to 35% in weeks, today's news is welcomed by many, but a negotiated deal with the U.S. remains critical to the industry.
Rob joins us live from Victoria now. Rob, these duties now at 27%, expected to hit 35%, but could there be more?
Well, Nafisa, indeed, there could be. As you described there, they're expected to reach 35% later this month, but separate and distinct from the duties is this issue of tariffs. And you'll recall Donald Trump back in the spring had ordered a review of tariffs on the lumber sector, justifying it on the basis of security for the states, the importance of them being able to manufacture enough lumber there. That review is not complete, but it's conceivable they could advise or order additional tariffs on top of the 35% duties. People in the industry I spoke to say they think that is unlikely, that is likely a negotiating tactic, but it all adds to this uncertainty and fear within the industry. Nafisa.
Our Legislative Bureau Chief live in Victoria tonight. Thank you, Rob. Another emergency room closure is renewing concerns about a growing staffing crisis in BC's struggling healthcare system. The ER at Delta Hospital was shut down overnight due to a doctor shortage, marking the third such closure this year. And as CTV's Reagan Hasegawa reports, critics say the disruptions will continue until the province addresses the root of the problem.
Delta's emergency department closed its doors overnight with just an hour's notice after the on-shift doctor called in sick. It's fueling outrage from local leaders who say the province is failing to protect patients. The ER closed at 7 last night and reopened at 6:30 this morning. Nurses remained on site to assess patients and redirect them to nearby hospitals. But it's the lack of backup that has local officials sounding the alarm.
Unexpected and very disappointing. We expect our emergency departments to be open because they're there for life-threatening problems from people. So I'm very upset over this, and we need some answers.
Mayor George Harvey says he's sending yet another letter to the health minister demanding action not just for Delta, but for communities across the province.
Well, that'd be equivalent to us having one firefighter off sick and not having an engine running. It's totally unacceptable and just shows how broken the system is.
The mayor says Delta already has the longest ambulance wait times in Metro Vancouver and no urgent or primary care centers. Critics argue when seconds count, the system needs to be ready. Right now, it's not.
Suddenly people with a huge emergency are thinking, where the heck am I going to go at 2 in the morning last night with a serious health issue?
Delta's closure was one of several across the province this long weekend, including Mission Memorial Hospital and South Okanagan General in Oliver.
We've seen nearly 200 temporary closures throughout 2025, mostly affecting rural regions, but we're starting to see this spread into larger urban centers.
If you want to care for others in a place that cares about you.
Critics say the province has focused on recruitment campaigns while ignoring what's happening on the front lines.
Absolutely not enough. We have nurses and doctors here in British Columbia that need to be empowered to work, and we need to create the conditions and the culture that stops the massive attrition we're seeing out of our healthcare authorities as these people burn out. Bringing in new people helps, but if the bottom of the bucket has a hole, we're never going to catch up.
The doors of this weekend's 3 impacted ERs have now reopened, but the trust in the system may not be as easy to restore. Reagan Hasegawa, CTV News, Delta.
CTV News has reached out to the Health Ministry for comment, but has yet to receive a response. To a CTV News exclusive now. For several years, our Penny Daflos has been exposing the many millions of dollars flowing to private staffing agencies. Those agencies provide nursing staff and other medical professionals to BC hospitals and care homes at a steep profit. The government has insisted it's working to get a handle on the problem. But as Penny shows us tonight, the numbers are growing once again.
When British Columbians go to the hospital, nurses provide professional care, so there's no way of knowing who is paid by government versus a private staffing agency.
It's a trap for the healthcare system.
CTV News has learned the trend of outsourcing nursing shifts to contractors has increased for the 5th straight year, with Northern Health shelling out the most.
We need to invest in the people that are delivering the care, not investing in for-profit business people that are frankly exploiting the situation.
Last year, CTV News waged a 7-month Freedom of Information battle to obtain the contracts that showed just how big the markups are.
I would call it a parasitic industry because they are really benefiting from the severe shortages we're seeing.
The health minister of the day insisted they're a last resort to keep hospitals open, and recruitment of full-time unionized staff is the goal.
Agency nursing is not what we want.
The Ministry of Health points out the rate of increase has slowed, which is true. But in the past 2 years, $500 million was paid to for-profit companies, contracting some of the same nurses to the same hospitals, but for higher pay, without forced overtime, and for hours of their choosing.
If health authorities and government are willing to spend this kind of money on for-profit, private nursing services, then why wouldn't we want to invest in the nurses that are already here in British Columbia that frankly have been holding up the system for a number of years?
There is no easy way out, because when you look at the workforce, we have more nurses per person in BC now than we had pre-COVID. So it's not that we don't have nurses. The only reason is dysfunction, but that dysfunction is not going to be miraculously solved by agency nurses.
Expect those numbers to prompt even more scrutiny on how the health authorities are allocating their budgets. The province is in a significant deficit and looking for areas to slash costs. But with ER closures continuing across the province, they'd essentially have to choose between balancing the books and turning away patients. Penny Dufflaw, CTV News, Vancouver.
Why are so many British Columbians moving to Alberta? That's what the Business Council of BC is trying to figure out as it counters Alberta's push to attract skilled workers from other provinces. CTV's Shannon Patterson has more.
Alberta's calling to say that your dream lives here.
3 years into the Alberta is Calling campaign, it appears the push to lure British Columbians to the other side of the Rockies is working. In the first quarter of this year, 1,883 more people moved from BC to Alberta than Alberta to BC.
We heard from tons of people that, they're leaving by necessity, not by choice.
As part of its counter campaign called Stay with BC, the Business Council of British Columbia spoke to thousands of people in this province to learn why so many are packing their bags and heading to Alberta.
The first one's obviously not that shocking. It was housing affordability, or just then generally affordability, because obviously if you're being pressed for other things like food costs and other things, housing becomes even harder to pay for. But number 2 was taxes and regulation, and 3 was jobs and wages, and number 4 was public services, or the lack thereof of accessing public services.
The Business Council survey found 2/3 of British Columbians who are leaving are under the age of 40.
Many people who live in British Columbia don't want to leave. And I mean, have you seen the weather in Alberta? So that it really, I think, talks to actually it's the role of governments, the role of the various institutions in British Columbia, really to ensure that this population under the age of 40 don't want to leave.
Our job here as British Columbians and as a business councillor to try and help convince people to stay, but the way we do that is by creating an economy that's worth staying for.
While the cost of housing will likely always be higher in BC than Alberta, the Business Council says a strong economy and healthy job growth can offset that.
Everyone's saying the right things in terms of reducing regulatory barriers and focusing on the resource sector and really putting the economy in the front row seat. And so now we just need to start seeing some more action, and pretty quickly, because these things, from what we're hearing from people on the ground, like they can't wait, months or years for this to come to fruition. Like they need help now.
Without it, BC will almost certainly continue to lose skilled workers to Alberta. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Vancouver.
The BC Wildfire Service says roughly 20 new fires have been reported in the last 24 hours, and firefighters are keeping a close eye on the weather with thunderstorms in the forecast. But of all the wildfires burning in the province tonight, perhaps the most significant is on Vancouver Island. Here's CTV's St. John Alexander with the latest.
Dashwood Fire said there's an hour and a half before the fire gets to where I'm at.
Told it is not safe to stay, residents near Cameron Lake spent the night grabbing what they could before fleeing.
Fire's rolling up. We gotta get out of here.
Helping them out even with their homes. Good Samaritans like Ari Buttonham, who happens to have a tow truck.
He was really panicked. He said, well, we got to get out of here. The fire's coming, and we could visually see it. And I just was patient, prayed, started stacking rocks to build a road to get the truck out.
A team of 200 is tackling the Wesley Ridge wildfire, about 55 kilometers outside Nanaimo. Cooler weather is helping, but it is still out of control.
We could see flames in the hills, like really close. I could hear the crackling, feel the heat, and we grabbed the last bit of stuff that we could and got out of there.
Lightning remains the leading cause of most fires, and thunderstorms are forecast for some parts of the interior. But it may also bring much-needed rain. A sudden grass fire in Penticton Tuesday was quickly extinguished. Near Hope, the Serpent's Back fire is still relatively small but considered out of control. At the same time, residents in the Peachland area have been returning home.
And they're doing a great job of keeping the fire away from the homes and the structures and the buildings right now. I can't thank those guys enough. They're heroes. They're saving everybody up there.
As for the fire on Vancouver Island, no word on when they can go back.
I know that being evacuated during a wildfire is a very scary experience, and you're putting your trust and faith in us. So please have patience and allow us to make sure that it is safe.
So far, Highway 4, which runs past, remains open, but drivers are being urged not to pull over, to take pictures. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
BC Wildfire Service is warning about misinformation, especially online. The agency says images like these generated by artificial intelligence may look real, but don't reflect actual conditions, fire size, or terrain. Officials are urging the public to turn to trusted sources for emergency updates and to be cautious about what's shared online. A man has been charged in connection to 2 stranger attacks in downtown Vancouver on Sunday morning. Vancouver police say both attacks happened on Granville Street near West Pender around 11:30 a.m. The suspect is accused of repeatedly pushing a 40-year-old man and throwing a 30-year-old visitor from Germany to the ground, sending her to hospital with minor injuries. Witnesses managed to hold the suspect until police arrived. 29-year-old Daniel James Johnny has been charged with assault by choking as well as 2 counts of assault. The operators of some Vancouver community centres aren't happy with the fees they're being charged to have police staff their events. They say there's been a lack of clarity from the city, leaving them to footing excessive costs for security. CTV's Isabella Zavarisi explains.
The Hillcrest Summer Festival, held every year in June, is a popular event at Riley Park. Well aware of the Lapu Lapu Festival tragedy, organizers knew to plan ahead and asked the city, do we need extra security? The city said no, but suddenly, days before this year's celebration, the city seemed to change its mind.
Then at the last week, on a Monday or Tuesday, they then said we need to pay about $3,500 for 2 police officers for 4 hours each.
For an organization that puts together its budget a year in advance, this news came as a shock.
A lot of stressful nights, days trying to figure out how we can be able to do that. We had to cut wherever we could cut. Keep in mind, we don't charge for this festival.
President Ken Charco says he'd like greater clarity from the city on whether this is a policy. He says some community centers aren't even aware they may need security at events.
So they're going to have some festival not know about it.
CTV News contacted the city for comment, who directed us to the Vancouver Police Department, who in turn pointed us to their website. It outlines the rules for special events. Park Board Commissioner Tom Digby says he's heard from many community groups who are concerned about security fees.
Small organizations find it really difficult to pay for these large police fees. I mean, it's a risk for them to even host these events, which are so valuable for the community. And so to get slapped with the last minute with a substantial policing cost, they were unexpected. It seems really excessive to me.
After CTV News started asking questions Tuesday, the Park Board says their bill has now been slashed in half. Organizers say they know security is important, but had they known the costs earlier, they would have planned better. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
After the break, safe and sound. Incredible rescue. An injured trail runner on the North Shore hoisted to safety. But first, summer slump. Home sales continue to decline in Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley, but industry insiders say there's signs of life in the market. On CTV News at 6 continues. Stay with us. Welcome back. After a number of slow months, the real estate market in Greater Vancouver is showing signs of life. While sales for July were slightly down from last year, those in the industry say there's optimism that market activity will pick up through the rest of the year. CTV's Ben Nesbitt has the story.
Month after month, properties have sat on the market, untouched, as Metro Vancouver's real estate market went stale. But now it appears more buyers are ready to get in the game.
One possibility right now is that you have a lot of people who waited on the sidelines finally jumping back in.
According to the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board, there were nearly 2,300 sales last month, and while that was still 2% below last July.
That's a significant change from what we've been seeing previously, where sales have been down 20, 30% year over year. So, while it's not a positive number year over year yet, it certainly is an uptick.
The board says the Bank of Canada holding the policy rate steady could potentially provide more certainty for borrowers amidst the ongoing trade war with the United States. But with inventory levels still significantly higher than previous years, this realtor says it's still a buyer's market.
As soon as you have inventory, now you have options, and options just mean that people don't have to make a decision
very quickly. So we always see homes stay on the market longer in these markets.
And while it may be a stressful time for those trying to sell,
when we work with sellers who are having trouble sort of digesting the fact that they might not be getting the price that they're looking for right now, it's so important to consider that you will have this opportunity on the buy side.
with supply remaining high, prices have come down a touch. But with some people desperate to sell, the board says there are discounts to be found.
There's a lot more negotiating room and choices out there than there has been in ages in this market.
Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
A charity bike ride to raise awareness about Parkinson's disease rolled through Vancouver today to spread an important message.
One thing about Parkinson's disease, it makes people hide. It can be embarrassing to go out in public with a tremor, knock over your coffee, spill your soup. People tend to retreat to their homes after a diagnosis. And we're trying to explain to people it's not necessary.
The Spinning Wheels Tour set off in Victoria Saturday on a 6,000-kilometer journey across the country. Funds raised will be left in the communities the team passes through to help support people living with Parkinson's disease. Excellent cause, Stephanie, and I think some nice cooler weather for their bike ride as well.
Yeah, the clouds have moved in. We've got rain on deck, and actually a significant amount of rain is coming our way. I will show you that coming up. But here's the cool down. Here's a look at our temperatures outside. So we are seeing definitely a chillier evening than we have seen in a while. And through the overnight tonight, that rain is going to pick up. So it's a chance of showers until midnight, and then really picking up after midnight into your day tomorrow. It'll be on and off rain with a risk of thunderstorms in through the afternoon, a high of 21 degrees. I will show you how much rain is coming up.
CTV Weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises. Plan, book, and safeguard your journeys. Explore the possibilities at expediacruises.ca.
So it is a full BC moisture event, which we will take, and I have the full forecast coming up.
Yeah, we'll take whatever precipitation we can get. Thanks, Steph. Well, after the break, a preventable tragedy.
The good news is they would have been killed instantly, so they wouldn't have suffered, but they shouldn't have been killed in the first place.
The results of a damning report into the implosion of the Titan submersible that claimed the lives of all 5 people on board. But first, local wildlife getting caught in traps meant for rats. The rescue group that wants to get the word out on how dangerous these traps can be, and not just for wildlife. We'll be right back. A shipment of 29 kilograms of methamphetamine destined for Hong Kong was recently seized at YVR. Canada Border Services Agency says the shipment was discovered July 18th in 2 suitcases. They were disguised as gifts in a passenger's luggage. A 25-year-old Chinese citizen has been arrested and is facing drug possession and exportation charges. A wildlife nonprofit is sounding the alarm about a dangerous trap tactic that may seem quick and snappy, but causes serious injury to animals. In the last month alone, more than a dozen critters have been caught in these traps, and not all of them survived. CTV's Dimitra Maragos has the story.
They do so much damage.
Jenna Konsevich, the senior wildlife supervisor at Critter Care Wildlife Society, says in the 5 years she's been with the nonprofit,
and it's been an issue every year. It just seems to keep getting worse.
Human-caused injuries using rat traps are on the rise. Konsevich says the wildlife impacted by these traps are raccoons and
baby skunks are one of the biggest victims of these traps.
She says during the first 6 months of the year, 8 animals received injuries from the rat traps. But just last month, the nonprofit has treated 15 animals injured by the traps.
They cause severe lacerations, severe injuries, often compound fractures.
We tested one of the types of traps Konsevich says they've been seeing the most frequently. The damage was visible. Recovery doesn't happen in a snap.
It can range from a few weeks to a few months.
And added, her message is simple.
Have more compassion for wildlife.
We reached out to Tomcat, a manufacturer of these types of traps. They say that they take these concerns seriously and that these traps aren't meant for raccoons or skunks. Now, they also added because these traps are so powerful that users should be careful when placing them near wildlife, small children, or other animals. Dimitri Marigo, CTV News, Langley.
The U.S. Coast Guard released a report today saying the 2023 implosion of the Titan submersible that claimed the lives of all 5 people on board was, quote, preventable. The report placed responsibility largely on OceanGate, the company that operated Titan. It found the primary factor for the implosion was the failure of OceanGate to follow established engineering protocols. Per Wimmer was signed up to go on the Titan in 2019, but that voyage was canceled. He also knew 2 of the people who perished that day and says company CEO Stockton Rush was known for pushing boundaries.
The good news is they would have been killed instantly, so they wouldn't have suffered, but they shouldn't have been killed in the first place. This was preventable.
The Coast Guard report also found that had Rush survived the disaster, he could have been subject to criminal liability. After the break, lost and found.
Holding up somebody's ring and seeing how it affects their life is the best thing I've ever done.
The search for an Olympian's other gold, how her second favorite piece of hardware was lost in Stanley Park and eventually found. A bike ride through Stanley Park turned into a desperate search when a Canadian Olympian lost a special gold bracelet. It's something Madison Maley bought to celebrate her team's gold medal victory in Tokyo. As St. John Alexander reports, she turned to a specialized sleuth for help.
Chris Turner is the first to admit you can't find them all. But he has been successful more than 500 times, he says, and that's why his friends call him the ring finder.
Doing this and holding up somebody's ring and seeing how it affects their life is the best thing I've ever done.
His latest client, Vancouver's Madison Maley, who bought this Cartier bracelet to remember her rowing team's gold medal victory in Tokyo, says it vanished on Thursday while she was out for a bike ride in Stanley Park.
And had it inscribed with Olympic champion, Canadian Women's Aid.
Her husband, Olympian Maxwell Latimer, helped her search up and down without any luck until dark. As a last resort, they picked up the phone.
Okay, so we came around the trail.
Now on the job, the ring finder wasn't thrilled with the odds.
Yeah, it didn't sound good. I mean, how do you actually retrace a bike path and for maybe 2 or 3 miles?
But before they even began to look, the jewel sleuth asked a good 20 minutes worth of questions when something triggered and he knew how to focus the hunt.
Let me just see something.
With Maley at work, the men took the road less traveled where the path narrows near Beaver Lake.
Max, whatever you do, keep focused on the right side, because if we're going to find it, it's going to be on the right side.
And within minutes,
Max looks down and goes...
Max found one half.
And the look at his eyes were like this big.
The ring finder, the other.
He was vibrating. He was so excited because Max really didn't think there was a chance.
I'm shaking.
How does that feel?
We gave up last night.
How's what feel?
Time to tell Maley they played it coy.
I felt like I won the gold medal.
I can't believe it.
By the way, the bracelet wasn't broken. It just needs a couple of screws and is as good as new and back where it belongs. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
It was a busy, long weekend for North Shore Rescue, with crews responding to 4 emergency calls, including this one, to save a stranded trail runner lost in tough terrain. Video shows the team trying to reach a man who was lost in the Haynes Valley area Monday evening. Luckily, he'd managed to call for help before his phone died. The man, described as an experienced hiker in his 50s who knows the area well, was wearing dark clothing. But rescuers in the helicopter were able to spot him because he was standing on a boulder waving his T-shirt.
That area has notoriously bad cell service, and he actually said he had to search around for a while to try and find cell service, and luckily was able to get it.
Despite some scrapes and bruises, he says the man is recovering well. North Shore Rescue is urging people to pack extra layers and dress in bright colors for the outdoors. After the break, Air Canada flight attendants vote in favor of going on strike. Plus,
I was shocked. I thought this could never happen to me.
A Toronto woman trying to sell some clothing was shocked to have more than $2,700 hacked from her bank account. The e-transfer scam you need to watch for. Still ahead. Taking a look at today's markets, the Canadian dollar is still sitting around 72 cents U.S. Oil is down to around $65 U.S. a barrel. Gold saw a $15 bump. On the stock market, the TSX gained 426 points. The Dow Jones lost 142 points on the day. Air Canada flight attendants have voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action. The union, representing more than 10,000 workers, says 99.7% are in favor of a strike if necessary. The vote comes after contract talks with the airline ended without a deal. The union says it could be on strike as early as August 16th. Now to a wild goose chase like no other. A chase involving a 5-foot-long lizard named Goose. The water monitor lizard slipped out of his owner's window last month and vanished into the forest. Police have been trying to track him down for weeks when he was finally spotted in the roots of a tree, his tongue sticking right out. Goose is safe and sound, but is now in the care of a reptile sanctuary as his owner didn't have the proper permit. Stephanie, I might have nightmares about that lizard, but I've been dreaming about rain for a while, so your forecast is going to make my dreams come true.
Yes, exactly. I wonder how Goose got his name. That's an interesting one. But yeah, the goose on the loose, he has been found. Here we are with clouds, cooler temperatures, and rain on deck for BC. Much needed rain. Here's a look at the almanac from today. So it was below seasonal. We're feeling that cool down already. For a low, we're about average, and we broke a record for a high in 1990 at just shy of 30 degrees. We are going to see our temperatures rebound back to summer in a few days here, but we are taking quite a bit of moisture. It's coming in Vancouver Island already. For us, it'll be a chance of showers, but through the overnight tonight, it will intensify, as you can see here. We do have a risk of thunderstorm activity in through the afternoon tomorrow. It is a widespread event. You can see that on the bottom of the screen, the full forecast for the province. Here's a look at how much rain we are expecting. So it's quite significant. Vancouver up to 28 millimeters, for Port Hardy about 20, and then up to 10 through Prince George. So expecting this weather to last into Thursday. We do have these air quality statements in place. That is for Prince George and the Stewart and Chaco regions, and that's from the wildfire smoke. And here we are with our temperatures down to 16 degrees, 22 for Campbell River and Comox. The thunderstorm activity is expected through the late day. Port Alberni 22, Victoria 20. We are going to see some breaks in this moisture, so it'll be on and off tomorrow, heavier through the overnight. 20 for the Sunshine Coast, up to 18 for Whistler. So definitely going to feel a cool down and a wet one tomorrow. So expect that we'll see maybe a little bit of sunshine will squeeze out in certain pockets of the day and through the lunchtime hour, but then we're expecting it to amp up again, and that risk is there and through the evening. So Thursday morning, the rain peters off. We'll start to see some sunshine in through the afternoon on Thursday, and then our temperatures are going to skyrocket. It'll be very hot as we head into the weekend. CTV Weather is brought to you by Expedia Cruises for air, land, and sea vacations.
I am looking forward to this nice little cool break, and then it'll heat up again.
Exactly. We need this moisture so badly.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. Well, e-transfers are one of the most popular ways to send and receive money in Canada, with more than 1 billion transactions happening each year. Generally, it is a safe way to move money, but e-transfer fraud is on the rise as hackers find new ways to get into your bank account. CTV's Pat Foran reports.
I was shocked. I thought this could never happen to me.
Lola Bielavuk of Toronto was using Poshmark, a website that brings together buyers and sellers, allowing users to purchase new and second-hand items. Bielavuk posted pajamas for $40, and someone offered to buy them.
I saw a link there that was for $40, which is what I was selling it for, an e-transfer. Perfect.
Bielavuk says she was sent what looked like a regular e-transfer link, so she decided to deposit the money.
I clicked Tangerine. I put in my client number and password. So I entered in the security code thinking everything is fine.
But after she did that, the website froze. Someone she didn't know added their name to her e-transfer contact list, and she was scammed out of $2,740. This happened in January. She's been trying for 6 months to get her money back without success.
And I was told that my claim was denied, that I was the one that was negligent.
Tangerine Bank told CTV News Tangerine will never ask you to download software or remote access apps, and you should never share your login information or one-time passcodes with anyone.
Think before you click. Just don't go ahead and click on links that have been sent to you.
Cybersecurity expert Ritesh Kotek says AI is making it easier for criminals to create real-looking e-transfers and banking websites. He says scammers send fake links hoping you'll click on them.
You think you're logging into a financial institution such as your bank, but in actuality you're logging in and giving your information to these fraudsters and hackers.
Kotak advises using auto deposits, strong passwords, and making sure you're on trusted websites. After CTV News reached out to Tangerine Bank, they reviewed Bielavuk's case again and told her, our recovery efforts with the other financial institution were ultimately successful and your funds have been fully recovered. Bielavuk has now been given a full refund, which was great news for her.
Thank you, CTV, for helping me get my money back. From the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful. Thank you for everything.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Serving aces and volleying into tennis stardom, Canada's Victoria Mboko will play in the semifinals of the National Bank Open. Still to come, how the 18-year-old success is impacting other young athletes. Plus, fairy footage. Adam meets a local man who's captured all sorts of critters on his camera, but this is the first time he's seen something magical. On the Sawatsky sign-off next. Right now, though, here is a preview of CTV Morning Live.
When you're behind the wheel, have you ever nodded off even for a second? Wednesday on CTV Morning Live, the alarming results of a new study on tired drivers, the risks of sleepy driving. Also, we're taking a look at some common misconceptions surrounding registered education saving plans and what happens if the subscriber passes away. We'll see you in the morning.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Welcome back. Canadian tennis phenom Victoria Mboko has stormed into the National Bank Open semifinals. She defeated her Spanish opponent in straight sets to earn her spot as the youngest Canadian in the Open era to reach this stage of the tournament. As CTV's Alison Hurst reports, the 18-year-old's dream run continues tomorrow.
As Victoria Mboko reaches the semifinals in the National Bank Open in Montreal, young tennis players are gripped.
I think that's amazing. It makes me feel pride for someone who came near this area actually got to a really high level at this young age.
Kian Rasulsadeh says it has him thinking about his future in tennis.
It kind of motivates me to pursue tennis.
18-year-old Mboko booked her ticket to the semifinals following a stunning defeat of world number 2 Coco Gauff and another dominant performance in the quarters.
To have such an achievement at a tournament like this is really a milestone for me, and I'm just so happy that I've got to have this whole experience in Montreal.
The Burlington teen is the first Canadian to reach the semis since 2019 when Bianca Andreescu won the tournament, and the youngest woman to reach the semis since 2015.
A year ago, Mboko was ranked outside the top 300. Yes, top 300 in the WTA rankings, and now she's cracked the top 50.
In Montreal, Mboko has dropped just one set.
She was a wild card in this event, so she's going to be enjoying this moment in front of the Montreal crowd, feeding off that raucous energy to try to propel her to the Canadian Open final.
Put your hand up. You like Fortnite.
Nike Tennis Camp coach Cameron Bentley is using her success and lessons from the court to inspire his campers.
I want them to, you may win the first set, you still got to win the second one. So
Yeah, just, enjoy it, I guess. I'm sure she enjoyed it.
Her next match is tomorrow against 9th seed Elena Rybakina. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
A backcountry crooner accidentally prompted a full search and rescue response after his singing was mistaken for cries for help. Central Okanagan search and rescue crews were out training when they received reports of someone yelling near the boulder fields. The team started combing through the popular hiking and climbing spot when they found the lone camper who wasn't in trouble at all. Crews say he was blissfully unaware that his tent-side concert had turned into an accidental distress signal, which leads me to ask, what was he singing? How was he singing it? I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, cries for help doesn't exactly sound like singing.
Was it opera? What was it?
What was it?
Okay, now I've been to a few wild bachelorette parties, but I think this story takes the cake. Talk about a very unexpected guest. A bachelorette party with a she found her honey theme got a little too on the nose when a bear showed up.
No! He's gonna eat the not the LaCroix.
The bride-to-be and her friends were staying in a cabin in Tennessee when the unlikely party crasher showed up. The black bear was seen wandering onto the deck, and it wasn't a picnic basket that caught its eye. Instead, it sniffed out steaks on the grill and even a bottle of champagne in an ice bucket. The women were able to hide safely inside until it eventually moved on, possibly to find more snacks.
Not the LaCroix.
They'll always,
yeah, exactly.
Well, they'll always have a story to tell, right? So, yes. Yasmin, what do you have coming up for us at 11:30 tonight?
Well, we are going to continue to provide you updates on the ongoing wildfire situation across BC. We do expect to hear from the province tomorrow. Plus, we're continuing to learn more details about what airports like YVR will do if Air Canada flight attendants go on strike. So we'll have those details and more tonight at 11:30.
Sounds good. Thank you, Yasmin. Well, a man on Vancouver Island is spreading magic by pushing the boundaries of the mundane. It all started when his security camera recorded something that made him look twice. Adam explains in tonight's Sawatsky Sign-Off.
Before he ever imagined seeing something magical, Steve McBeth installed security cameras to be purely practical.
Able to see who's been wandering around your place. This cat visits pretty much every night. And
whenever the camera's triggered, Steve immediately gets a notification on his phone saying if it's a human or an animal.
All sorts of critters are constantly moving past it.
But there have been a couple times when the camera captured people.
The person that walked through the front yard had actually done some break-ins that same evening.
So when he got a similar notification the other night, Steve feared the worst.
And it said that it saw a person.
And what was the person doing?
Well, it wasn't a person.
And it wasn't one of the usual animals either.
It was unlike anything I've ever seen before.
It appeared in the left corner of the screen, a bright white dot that suddenly turned and flew straight at the camera.
Well, it looked kind of humanoid.
It looked, Steve thought, supernatural.
Like it was a shimmering silver color.
A fairy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
While that magical moment was quickly replaced by a mundane explanation, it was still wonderful.
I just thought that other people would have a kick out of it as well.
So Steve took the time to post the fairy video on his local community page.
The very first one was a guy that said a rolled up newspaper would take care of that.
But after that, more than a couple people mentioned Tinkerbell. Hundreds expressed their gratitude, and tens of thousands watched the magic unfold.
Just stunned with the response to this.
But even better is seeing this video of one of his granddaughters, Isabel, watching the fairy footage for the first time, in awe.
Always remember the time their goofy old granddad got himself on TV because of the fly that flew by his security camera.
Or they will never forget that time their couldn't-be-more wonderful granddad made the effort to make his world, if just for a moment, feel like magic.
Oh, just to look for things that are unusual in life. You never know where something like that is going to pop up and be a bit of fun.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Esquimalt.
I think it speaks to with all the doom and gloom we have in the news, sometimes you just want to believe in magic.
Yeah.
You just want something whimsical and wonderful to pass by in front of the camera. So yeah, maybe it's a fairy.
I always believed in fairies, but it kind of looks like those giant mosquitoes
I was just
in
gonna
my back
say.
door these days in the summer.
Better to think it's a fairy than that.
Yeah.
So team newspaper.
Magic all the way.
Speaking of magic, you've got a wonderful scenic snapshot
It is.
tonight.
It's kind of the golden hour here. It's a beautiful photo. Thank you for sending this in to Gary of North Saanich.
Wow.
And if you'd like to send us your photos, please email scenicsnapshot@ctv.ca. So.
Oh, there's going to be rain clouds and all of the scenic snapshots for the next couple of days. So unfortunately, not a lot of golden hours, but it'll come back in a couple days, right?
Not something we've seen for a while, but we need it.
That's right.
Need it. Yeah.
Well, CTV News continues online anytime. CTVNewsVancouver.ca. Make sure you stick around at 11:30 for Yasmin's Late Show. And then, of course, CTV Morning Live tomorrow morning. Thanks for sharing part of your evening with us. Thanks.
Good night.